Brian moved in with myself and my other roommates about 6 months after we met because his girlfriend had kicked him out and he needed help. So when Brian came to me, he had no birth certificate, no social security card, no license, no car. He had nothing. He was homeless for over a decade. I knew what I was getting into when I agreed to help him. He had a history of addiction and violence.
Look at me, I don't care about that. I don't want to be that person no more.
He's had at least 10 restraining orders in the past. He went to prison for assault. So at this point, my parents have had enough. They're basically speechless, and they're constantly asking me, Gina, you know, what are you doing? How long are you gonna do this?
You're gonna break my foot, Brian. It's on video, so let the door open.
I literally had to become his lawyer, his executive secretary, his nutritionist, his boxing manager, and his overall life coach, mentor, advocate.
If I release him back to the streets, he will victimize other women. If he gets his license very soon, he will get behind the wheel of a car and he could kill himself or other people.
I knew what I was getting into. I knew I was gonna have to go through the fire for the potential and possibility for him to get well.
Well, Gina, this is a full-time challenge with this individual because this is not something that just cropped up overnight. He's been fighting this for a long, long time, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And-
his whole life, really.
Right, and he was homeless for how long?
I mean, he wouldn't say he was homeless because he always found somebody to take him in.
Right.
So my version of homeless is a little bit different. So at least over a decade.
You say he can get violent, and you're afraid if he was just cut loose and on the street, he could certainly get violent. He has the ability to really do damage because this is a trained professional. Yeah, I mean,
His hands are registered weapons.
Yeah, world champion middleweight.
Yeah.
And now, he says that he will walk off the stage if you embarrass him. What is he afraid you're going to embarrass him with?
He's developed narcissistic ways, and so he's a liar. And I say that I'm just trying to be transparent. You know, he's trying to cover the truth and put on a mask that everything is great and fine and wonderful. But you know, I can't live like that, and the truth has to be told. For him to get well, he's going to start telling the truth.
You knew a lot about him when you met him.
I did. Well, I kind of summed him up. I mean, I work with drug addicts. I was a drug addict.
You're a trained professional in this arena.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yep. Yeah, I have 30 years experience personally and professionally. I've been through my own fire. I was that victim. I was abused terribly. I should not be here today. I have my own story, and I've used my story to help a lot of other women and men. It doesn't matter to me, anybody I can help. So I am a certified recovery coach. I'm a licensed chaplain, a licensed outreach minister. But he is an extreme case, and that's why this is my last resort.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know.
So how did Brian go from boxing title holder to being destitute? Gina says Brian would say it has a whole lot to do with the demons in his head. Let's listen to this and you'll see what we mean.
When I have an issue that I'm not comfortable with, I automatically go off the grid.
So Brian's been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, PTSD, ADHD, learning disability, traumatic brain injury, and substance abuse.
My brain, Gina, my brain. I haven't slept in 2 days.
What impacts me today is my depression, my anxiety, my traumatic brain injury from my boxing. Because of all the fights that I've had, it's hard for me to focus. I'm worried about my thought process. Every good thought and proper thought shuts down, and all the evilness of this world comes in.
In his mind, Brian lives in his own reality, so everything is Brian's. You know, every girl he meets, if he moves in with her, it's his house. So Brian has the mentality of what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine.
I'm worried about my brain injury.
So Brian's memory is incredibly bad. I could tell him something and literally 30 seconds later, he's asking me the same question. He definitely has paranoia over several different things. Me cheating on him all the time.
You cheated because you're smoking crack, you slut.
His paranoia is happening literally as we're filming Dr. Phil. 20 missed calls from him. This is what's been happening as we're shooting. Like, he's blowing up my phone. He's paranoid. He's like making comments like, oh yeah, you're filming, yeah, okay. Because he's upstairs and he can't be down here. He's freaking out. An hour we've been filming. He thinks there's something else going on other than filming. I've seen the beast that the other women have told me about. It's like his face changes and it's evil and it's almost like he's possessed.
Well, Brian, it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Doctor.
And I'm glad that you came here. And let me tell you straight up, I'm not here to judge you at all. I'm here to help you. You know, a lot of people could judge you, and I'm not here to do that. I'm here to help you. And I've grown up in athletics, and I had to stop athletics because of a brain injury. And I've been there, so I've got some empathy for what you're dealing with. So don't think I'm here to throw you under the bus, because I'm not. I just want to get real about what's going on, and I want to start by you telling me, when things are good with you, and everybody is on a roller coaster, when things are good with you, what's it like to be you? What's a good day in your life like?
Thank you. I'm the best person you'll ever meet. I love my daughters. I love children. I have a grandson, man. You know, my first little boy. You know, he's only like 5 months, and this guy's like, you know, my heart. I'm trying not to cry. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You know, so I'm keeping this.
I ain't gonna take it away from you.
No, it says Dr. Phil on it, so you can sign it after.
Well, I'm the last guy gonna try to take something away from you.
You know.
All right, I got another question for you. Gina says that Brian's brain has definitely been damaged from violent blows in the ring, but that he also has a drug and alcohol addiction that hasn't helped him over the years. Now, Brian says addiction is not the problem. We're going to talk about that, and I've got another.
Slut.
Yeah, right. Let's go. Come on.
When Brian is drunk, he calls me the most disgusting, vulgar names that I would never repeat on television. He will drive me crazy asking to go out for a drink over and over again until I get worn down and worn out enough where I just give in. We'll go get a drink.
And I'll fool her into having a drink, and then I'll have a drink, and then I'll keep having another one and another one.
So the drinks then lead to him wanting to get a bag of cocaine, at which point I have surrendered and given up because I cannot fight any longer. If I try to stop him, he'll just take off and he'll be gone for a day, 2 days. I just never know.
Give me my car back.
He will literally physically stumble out the door, bouncing off the walls, and leave the house on a mission to find coke or crack. He'll either hang out on the streets for hours or he'll end up hanging out at one of his homies' houses. Just last week, he went on a bender for 3 days, ended up spending about $1,000, came home broke.
So why are you in my couch right now?
Because I'm looking for
You know what? You already tore up my couch, so it's time to stop.
When Brian is high, he gets paranoid that he hid something, and so he will pick apart anything that is the closest thing to him, swearing that he left or hid some drugs in there, or he'll accuse me of stealing his drugs.
my weed.
Oh, you lost your weed?
No, I got my weed. I'm just saying, where's my weed, woman?
The love of his life, I named her Crackahol, because a man that loves something that much and is willing to lay down his life for her, sacrifice his children, sacrifice his, quote, wife, is clearly in love with that.
I ask you what it's like on a good day when things are really good in your life. Tell me what it's like on a really dark day, do you not like yourself? What do you say to
I didn't want to cry
yourself?
on the show, man. I didn't want to cry on the show.
That's okay. Just talk through the tears. It doesn't matter.
I want to hurt myself even more. You know what I'm saying?
Why? Why do you deserve to be hurt?
Because I didn't feel worthy of being loved when I was a kid, you know? The reason why I became the fighter that I became was because that was the only, for me, it was the only attention I could get from people. You know what I mean? Oh, if they love me now, I'm the champ, you know? As far as my mother's concerned, my mother gave me up to my grandparents. She would promise me that she'd come get me, but I'd sit there and wait. Now, when you promise a child that you're gonna go get them, or that they're gonna be with you again, and the mother doesn't show up, I go crazy, man. Like, what? My mother didn't come when she's supposed, I'm sitting there counting days, like I'm in prison or something, you know? And it tore me up. And it's a shame to say so, but it's hurting me today. You know, I'm 47 years old, you know, and I missed out because of my drug use and because of my drinking. I missed out on a lot of things.
Tell me about Jody.
Come on, man. Jody, huh? Jody was the only thing, the closest thing that she was my soulmate. She was what Gina is now, man. So when she passed away, I felt like I was abandoned again, you know? So I didn't care about my daughter, our daughter. I didn't care about my other daughters. I didn't care about me. I also used an excuse, her death as an excuse for people to feel bad for me to go do degrading things. And, you know, I hated my life, man. I hated my life.
How did she die?
Car accident. So that's another thing I have that I'm like, I feel so guilty about. So I carry guilty, hurt, depression, all that stuff for my head.
You have those feelings about Gina now.
Oh, yeah, Gina's my new Jody.
You feel close to her.
I love that woman.
Do you worry that she's going to leave you? You were
Absolutely.
abandoned by your mother. Jody left you. You think she's going to leave you?
I don't think she's, well, I hope she doesn't leave me.
Well, you certainly test her every day.
Well, that's over after this show, that's for sure.
Are you testing her? Are you trying to see if she'll leave you?
It's over. I'm not testing you no more, I promise.
Just answer the question. That would be good.
Excuse me?
Do you think that's why you do that? Are you trying to see if she'll leave you?
No, it's fear.
So that's a yes.
Okay.
I mean, you're afraid she's going to leave you, so you're trying to test her to see if she will. Does it feel good when you wake up and she's still there? Does it feel good at least
feel
for a little
bad.
while
I feel bad.
that you did that?
Yeah.
How do you get where you don't feel like you have to earn your right to stay around? You said people love you when you're a champion, but of course when you're not, they have no use for you.
That's so true.
You're a cash cow when you're a champion, and when you're
Yeah.
not, they move on, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of hard to answer because I kind of forgot what you just said. I'm so sorry.
No, I understand. Listen, I get it. What I'm saying is you grow up in a world where you have to earn your right to be around. And
Yep.
you said that. You said, I got to do better and better and better. And that's so they'll let me stay around. If I'm ever just me, I'm not worthy enough to be around. I have to earn it. I got to be a champion. I got to be better. I got to be better. I got to be better. Because just me, I'm not worthy enough to be allowed to stay around. Is that how you feel?
Absolutely.
Yep.
You won't even believe who love you really until you lose. When you lose, then those people are there for you, you know?
Brian the Bull Barbosa.
Brian is adored by so many people because he's, you know, the boxer, Brian the Bull. Everybody who knows him knows that he has these issues, but they still have no problem blessing him, handing him money, giving him rides, you know, whatever he asks for, he can get. He is one of Rhode Island's prize fighters, and he totally feeds off that. It feeds his ego and uses it at this point to manipulate and get his way. His popularity absolutely gets in the way of making good progress and getting him well because he always has somebody there to enable him. Brian's been violent with all of his exes that I've spoke to. He's a savage in the ring, and he's a savage outside the ring.
The only way I can be violent is if you pay me $150,000 to $550,000 to be violent in the ring.
One woman had to get reconstructive surgery on her kneecap. He went to prison for approximately 2 years for what was originally charged as attempted murder. It was dropped down to, I think, assault with a deadly for brutally beating up a man.
I was in a house trying to deal drugs, and a certain individual come towards me, so I was just protecting myself.
Brian said that he tapped the guy in the head with a fire iron stick, but that's not even close to accurate. They literally had to pull fragments of this man's skull out of his brain. Brian's violent behavior serves him very well in the ring. He has to be an animal. He has to be evil. He has to take control. And that's how he was so successful. But he cannot differentiate how to behave in the ring and how to behave out of the ring.
I'm a big softy. Outside the ring, I'm the friendliest guy you'll ever meet.
Brian gets away with so much because he's Brian the Bull Barbosa. Whether it's police, it's judges, courts, he gets away with way more than just the average Joe.
I'm here to get better, not to get criticized or to get put down. I am not by any stretch of the imagination in my right state of mind violent.
But when you're not in your right state of mind, you acknowledge you can
I
be
could
violent.
be, absolutely.
Brian has 5 daughters. He's a terrible dad. He forgets to call them on their birthday. He probably doesn't even remember when their birthdays are. They don't get anything for Christmas. One of his daughters, Diani, lost her mom when she was 6. Brian's relationship with Diani has been very rocky. She has seen the demon in him, seen him drunk, seen him be verbally abusive to me. I've taken her under my wing. She's very special to me.
Gina says the one championship belt she wishes Brian would win is for best dad, but that just hasn't happened yet. Now, Diani says her dad was absent most of her life, and despite their issues, she says she loves her dad, but just doesn't know how much longer she can sit by and watch him unravel his own life.
I love my father, but I can't be around him if he keeps continuing to be this person that is hurtful to his family, who doesn't treat his family right or his fiancée. Recently, we had an altercation at home. My dad was verbally attacking Gina, and I wasn't going to allow that, so I got involved. He pushed me to the side. It was bad. I worry about Gina. Any other woman would have left by now. When I was growing up, my dad was never around. He was in and out of prison. He would send letters promising that we'll be a family and he'll be back. But when he got out, he just disappeared. He would call on birthdays and he wouldn't even know how old I was.
Diani, who lost her mother, it was very tough with her because for a while she had resentment towards me. And she was, I don't look at her like how she is today. I look at her how she used to be with me. It's not easy. It's not easy, man, because I don't look at her like now, you know? I look at her when she was a kid. I should have been there, but I didn't care about her. I didn't care about me. I didn't care about nothing. I didn't care about nothing.
This trip to Dr. Phil is pretty much the end of the road here. If we can't get better after this, I don't know where we're gonna be.
Johnny, thank you for being here.
Of course.
What do you miss from your father? What do you need from him? What do you miss from him?
I need you to be a father, and I want us to have a normal relationship, and not just me, but for all of us.
So you feel kind of abandoned by your dad?
Yeah, I mean, he says he has abandonment issues, but he put that on me.
What do you hear her saying?
There's nothing I can say, but there's things that I have to do. That's what I hear her saying, like I just gotta do now. You know, I can't talk no more.
Joining us is Dr. Bradley Jabbour. Now, he is a leading neuroradiologist, and he is a senior member of the American Society of Neuroradiology. He received the prestigious Certificate of Merit Award from the Radiological Society of North America. He was appointed to the radiology faculty at UCLA, where he was attending professor in head and neck radiology and was chief neuroradiologist at the VA UCLA Medical Center. He's an expert on impact trauma on the brain and has pioneered cutting-edge breakthroughs in imaging. And Dr. Jabbour, thank you for taking the time to see this gentleman and do a workup. Yeah, we often think about brain injury as something that is a catastrophic thing, like going through the windshield or falling and hitting your head on the sidewalk. But research is showing that repetitive impact on the brain over and over again, not huge impact, but just repetitive impact, can have a significant effect. True?
Yeah. I think we call it subconcussive impact. So multiple smacks on the head where you don't lose consciousness, we found accumulatively actually is worse in some instances than having 1 or 2 concussions.
You've had how many fights?
I probably have like 200.
Yeah.
With at least 10 to 20 punches to the head per round.
You did some very sophisticated evaluation of the brain. Can we go to the screen and let's look at what you found out? Okay. Is it okay to do that? Start with you? Let's see what we did. So Dr. Jabbour, come up and let's walk through this. Okay, what are we seeing here, Dr. Jabbour?
So we can see this is Brian's face, and we're looking into the brain. We're using this very advanced technique. We're able to measure the volume and the wiring in the brain.
Okay, and did this show any abnormalities?
Yes, it did.
All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this looks at volume loss, and always in an MRI, the patient's right is our left.
That's correct.
So this is the right-hand side of the brain.
That's correct.
Okay, what do we see?
So we can see very dramatically how much bigger these spaces are on the right side compared to the left. It's just slit-like, slightly bigger. Here, a slit-like much bigger, which means that the brain tissue on the right of the patient has shrunk.
Same thing here,
Same thing here, but in addition, a third space has developed abnormally, which is when this membrane is shaken from multiple punches, a space develops, the membrane opens out and fills with fluid, rushes in, and you end up with 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, instead of 2.
Do you consider this significant brain pathology?
Yes.
Okay, next slide. Okay, what are we looking at here, doctor?
Here what we're seeing is scar tissue. So we see that white area in multiple areas of the brain.
So we've seen a reduction in size, particularly on the right. The fluid spaces have expanded, and we're seeing scar tissue.
Yes.
So again, this is significant pathology.
This is significant pathology.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, now we have a lot of focal information here, right?
Yes. All areas that have low numbers are areas where the brain has shrunk tremendously, so tremendously that 95% of people have a bigger brain in that area than Brian.
Okay, so for example, we're seeing here in the lateral occipital lobe, he's at the 1 percentile. Means 99% of the people have what?
Have a bigger brain, occipital lobe than him, and this goes along with the frontal lobe is very low. From impact, you get diminished volume in the front and then in the back, because the occipital lobe is in the back and the frontal lobe is there. So your brain is smashing front and back.
Okay, now here we have Brian's brain, and here we have a normal brain, and we can clearly see that in the executive brain, there is diminished metabolism in this area. What's the impact of that?
So this is the command central of the brain. And if you switch off this brain, you can end up, this region of brain, you end up with a lot of the symptoms that we heard Brian was talking about: memory issues, control issues, impulse control in the frontal lobes, executive decision making, poor decision making. All of that, it could be related to frontal lobe.
So this isn't just all psychological on his part. He has a neurological inability to do some of the things that he needs to do, or inhibit some of the things that he needs to inhibit.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's sit down and talk about this in more detail. First off, it's clear that Brian has suffered significant brain damage.
It's very significant.
What we know, with particularly the brain being the resilient mechanism that it is that one part of the brain can take over for other parts of the brain, and this is something that can be treated with Brian, and we can wake up some areas that have kind of gone to sleep. We can calm down some areas that are overspeeding, and we can greatly improve his brain function over what it is now.
Absolutely.
What do you hear all of this saying and adding up to, and what questions do you?
It's depressing for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm disappointed that this is going on in my life. We went and we had some tests done by other quote unquote, good neurologists or doctors or whatever, but nothing like this.
No, not even close.
Not even close, man. I mean, you totally changed my life.
The brain can heal itself if you do the right things. We
Whatever
can bring
it
this
takes.
back.
Whatever it
Correct?
takes.
Yeah, definitely.
He's saying that this can be treated, where these areas can be reinvigorated. You can increase electrical activity and circulatory activity to these areas and wake these areas up. True?
Yeah, yes.
I'm not offering this as an excuse for his behavior.
Yeah.
I'm offering it as an explanation for some of his behavior. And now the responsibility is on him
Yeah.
to grab a hold of this information, act on it, and get himself the care that he needs.
Yeah.
And with this, this brain can be enhanced, and you will see all of those functions lift, including depression, impulse control, memory, a lot.
I
of memory
definitely
can
need
come back.
memory, man.
Yeah. Fair enough?
Incredible. I'm speechless. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Dr.
you so
Jabbour is amazing. A hand for Dr. Jabbour, please.
From boxing champ to this.
He's in denial of all of this.
I'm here to get better, not to get criticized.
Do you not like yourself?
I didn't want to cry on the show, man. I want to hurt myself.
Why? Why do you deserve to be hurt?
New Dr. Phil. Check your local listings.